I'm sure you've got the questions as far as like, well, how did you break in, or do you have any advice for aspiring creators? So
Yeah.
this is your chance to dazzle us again with any kind of words of
Sure, I
wisdom.
will. I will pleasure you with this response.
Hold on. Let me get comfortable in my chair.
Uh, I would say, and it's kind of like Kickstarter too. You know, go to the cons, especially if you like comics. It's not hard to meet people and creators, and especially Artist Alley. Go to Artist Alley. You know, you're not talking about people with the big two necessarily, but they're willing to talk about their work, share their work, and start noticing the names. So if you want to put a comic out, if you want to do that, besides the groups that are on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, actually meeting people in person is a great way to do it. Getting recommendations from other people. Say you hire an artist and you're like, how do I get a colorist? Like, well, ask the artist who they like to work with, who does their stuff really well, and they'll usually have a recommendation. And besides the groups, look at the books and look at who the credits are for the level of book that maybe you're hoping to do. If it's an indie book and something like that, you want to start looking these people up, and that's how you would put a team together. As far as getting it published, Kickstarter is kind of where it's at these days. Until you maybe make a bigger name for yourself, you can still do a Kickstarter and still publish it. Like, Charlie Stickney had one of the best books ever on Kickstarter, White Ash, and eventually it found its way to Scout. Now he works with Scout Comics, but you can build your base there, and you don't need to have some publisher that's kind of ripping you off and just because it's getting you in stores. Now, I was lucky enough that my book got into stores, and that's kind of all I wanted. I wasn't looking to. No one gets into comics to make a lot of money. If you're getting into comics to get rich, you are in the wrong field. You got to do it because you love it. And Rick, I came late to comics as well. I mean, I was into them a little bit when I was little, and then there was this huge gap in my teenage years, and then when I moved to LA, and I was 19, I was doing stand up, and I made a film when I was in my early 20s, and it just wasn't on my radar. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
going to Golden Apple or Meltdown and checking out, Image Comics latest. I didn't know any of that stuff was going on. It was only later because I have friends that are big into comic books, and when Christian and I came up with Baby Badass, he's a good resource. So I would say, like, talk to your friends that are into comics if you're not. If you want to break in, like, there's a lot of ways to do it, but a lot of it now is through social media and Kickstarter. I would say back a lot of Kickstarters. If you are going to do that, don't show up on Kickstarter and you've never backed anyone else,
Yeah.
because then you're just asking for it at that point. You need to kind of build a foundation and build a community and be part of that community. And I always tread very lightly. I don't purport to be a nerd by any stretch. Like I respect nerds and their knowledge of, like, the universes and everything that happened during the Claremont run of X-Men. And I'm like, I will leave it to you, and I like the movies, and I try to dip my toe in, but I also don't try to pretend to be more than I am for that. I just, I was having fun with Baby Badass because it was a kind of a spoof on, like, 90s comics, with the big guns and the pouches and the foul mouth, and, like, just created something a little with a twist, and but played in that sandbox. So, I've been learning still the last couple of years, not just going to cons, but you just pay attention and follow the right people, and eventually you can be a bona fide nerd like you guys.